Alright, go ahead and get out your notebooks. Make sure you guys are writing these notes, and let's go ahead and start our lesson on solving percent problems. Now these are basically called percent of a number problem, and let's go ahead and start right up here. And I'm going to show you how to set up an equation to solve this. So this is just another method. I have up here method 2, but don't really worry about that. We're going to use multiplication to solve these. So this is quite simple. All you got to do is change the percent to a decimal, then multiply. Okay, so what you're going to do is, just understand what some of the words mean. Of means multiply. We've actually talked about that quite a bit in daily warm-ups and everything like that. And the word is means equals. Okay, so here's our first problem. Find 80% of 90.5, 90 and 5/10. So you change 80% to a decimal by moving it over 2 places. 1, 2. How far does the decimal move? 1, 2. Moves over 2 places to the left. It always moves over 2 places. So it moved over 1, 2. So now it's right there. Okay? And then of means multiply and 90.5. And there you go. It's very, very simple. Very simple indeed to solve these problems. Just move that out of the way. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. And let's just dive right in. Let me just go ahead and do a couple with you, and then you can do the other 2 on your own. Write the equation, then solve. Okay, so the first one is 6% of 38 is what number? So just do 6%. This is 0.6, right? Just write 0.6. No, you should be shaking your head saying, no, that is not the way to do it. 6% as a decimal is 0.06, 6 hundredths. The decimal moved over 1, 2. Remember, that's a magic number. It's always going to move over 2. What does of mean? Of means times 38. So just use your calculator. You guys are allowed to use your calculators on these things. So this is what you should have ended up with. 2 and 28 hundredths. 2.28. There it is. Okay, going on to the next one. Some people might confuse this with already being a decimal, and I know what you're thinking, like, well, it's already got a decimal, I don't need to change it to a decimal, do I? But yes, in order to multiply it, you've got to move that decimal over 2 places. It's got to move over. So you want to think of it as 806 thousandths. So the decimal is now there. Decimal, regardless of where it is, as a percent, needs to move. You always have to move that decimal. Of means times 90. So 0.806 times 90 is 72 and 54 hundredths. There you have it. Okay? Go ahead and pause the video at this moment and try out the next 2. Give them a good try. And then when you're ready to go over them, unpause the video and see how you did. Okay, so if you unpaused it, 140% is 1.4. So don't just, some people just take the decimal and they slap it in front of the number itself. That's not how these are done. You move the decimal 2 places. I keep sounding like a broken record here, but that's what you have to keep in mind. The decimal moves over 2. It doesn't just go in front of the number. It goes over 2. So that would be wrong, totally. Of 35. So 1.4 times 35. If you wanted to leave off this 0 and get rid of it, that's fine. But it's not going to matter either way if you put it in your calculator that way or not. So 140% is 49. It's going to be bigger than 35. That's what happens when you do something that's greater than 100%. Last one here. Again, this is another one where people think, oh, it's already a decimal, I don't need to change it. But yes, you always have to move the decimal. It always has to move over. 1, 2. So it's got to move over 2. I know it seems kind of obnoxiously long in terms of a decimal, but that's the deal. Of 25. So it's not even 1/10. It's a very, very small number because this was a very, very small percent. It wasn't even 1%. It wasn't even 1/10 of a percent. So you can't imagine that this is going to be very big at all either. So you're finding a very small percent of a not so big number. 25 is not that huge. So yeah, this is an answer I would expect, something small. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's finish up with this with a word problem. Okay, now not all problems are going to be written like this, where it says find 140% of 35. Some problems you have to figure out on your own, and you have to set them up. So here's a problem here. It says the Bulls scored 96 points at their last game. If 24% of their points were from fast breaks, how many points did they not score from fast breaks? And I have on there round if needed. Okay, so we need to figure out how many points were not from fast breaks. So if okay, sorry about that. I had to pause it and go back because I had some numbers on there that I forgot to change. So let's go ahead and start this up again. I was talking about how many points they did or did not score on fast break. So 24% were from fast break. So that means what percent was from from something else other than fast breaks, and that would be 76. 76% were not from fast breaks. They were from free throws, they were from layups, they were from dunks perhaps, but they were not from fast breaks. So that's the number you want to focus on. Okay, 76%. That's the focus here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to find 76% of their points. 76% of 96. Now when you do this on your calculator, you get that, 72.96. Okay, well, you can't, in basketball, you can't score 96/100th of a point. So you're going to need to round. So what does that round to? Well, if you're going to round, you're going to round to the nearest 1, the nearest whole number. So this 2 is next to a 9. So that 9 is 5 or more, so raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, raise the score. So 72 turns into 73. And that's your rounded answer. Okay, so the Bulls scored about 73 of their points on points that were not fast breaks. Okay, so that does it. Everyone have a good night, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay.